But let's get into the Russian news right now. First off, the reason I'm for national sovereignty, even though most governments are pretty corrupt and bad, is the global corporate government is anti-free market, anti-human, technocratic, a scientific dictatorship in their own words, who want to fundamentally reduce population forcibly and bring in a global tyranny. So they are the most threatening, scientifically evil, anti-human elite the world has ever seen. I made a film about them. It's called Endgame. 8 years ago, it's evergreen today. If you want to understand their own quotes, what they plan to do since 1850, and how they rule the planet right now, pretty much. They're trying to mop up a few sectors they don't fully control. Russia, Iran, a few others. Is Iran good? No, their leadership's out of control in many cases. Is Russia good? No, their leadership is somewhat centralized, kleptocratic, strongman. Compared to the globalists, though, Russia is a totally different animal. Russia does not want to kill humanity. The Russian leadership does not want to exterminate their population. The Russian elite are totally different in a primitive, strongman, nationalistic model, on record. That's what they are. And a nationalistic, strongman Russia that's free market is light years better than communism and light years better than Sovietization, and light year upon light year better than the globalist synthetic death. Now, that said, what are firewalls in a building or a ship? If there's a fire in the engine room, it's contained by big firewalls that can handle 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 degrees. So you don't get the whole ship sinking or the whole building burning down. That's what a firewall is. Or it's like a bulkhead in a ship. If water gets into one area, it can't flood all the bulkheads and compartments. So if you get a Hitler, he takes over a few countries but gets stopped by other nations. Sometimes by bad nations like Russia at the time, run by Stalin. One evil fights another evil. The globalists want to bring down Russia. They've paid off China. They pretty much control China, though China is somewhat independent and has its nukes and plans to double deal as well. There are 3 power blocks. But China is more in bed with the globalists than Russia. Russia is somewhat in bed with them. And I've studied the whole history of it. That's why I'm against using radical Islamic al-Qaeda groups to destabilize Russia and take over a bunch of its former satellites and countries that are part of Russia proper for 1,000 years. What is known as, the old Russian Empire and the proto-Russian Empire, if you go back close to 1,000 years ago. The Orthodox Church, basically, is Russia. And, of course, the communists tried to get rid of that when they were there. Now notice it's back and it's not state-run. So Russia is just rediscovering itself with all its problems but all its glory instead of being a Rothschild, Rockefeller-run fiefdom. And they've kicked out all the Rothschild fronts, and the Rothschilds sued British newspapers when they said that this oligarch was a Rothschild front and that oligarch was a Rockefeller front. They sued and went on in court for 3 years. They lost. And the court said, wow, this hearing and this trial actually found the claims were true. You are a puppet master. What does the spider want to do? It doesn't want to be revealed. Who did the Rothschilds fund? You can look it up. Adolf Alois Hitler. Not because they were Nazis. They had wrecked Europe before funding both sides. It's beyond the evil that we normally see. It's cold-blooded, scientific. Look at the breaks in the pool game and decide that you're going to be both players. Or all 3 players, or all 4 players. And the minute people get this, it'll be so simple, but still so complex, you'll go, why didn't I ever see that before? See, we're supposed to take the side of the immigrants, and the media says, if you have any Hispanic descent, you're supposed to just support totally open borders. When Latin American countries are having wars with each other all the time, they can't get along. Or you're supposed to take the side of, let's kill all the brown people. No. You're supposed to rise above it, see the full spectrum, and then make the moral decision out of it. But people don't even know how to make decisions now. That's why they don't have geopolitical understanding, historical understanding, cultural understanding, spiritual understanding. And I come to the realization that even when I talk to big CEOs and really smart artists and famous people, I mean, some of the most famous people in the world I know personally, even bigger than the people you've heard on this show, by orders of magnitude, as big as it gets in Hollywood, as big as it gets in rock and roll. And they're smart, but they just go, I don't believe I can affect change, and it's too big, and they're mainly focused on their own hobbies. They know a lot of what I'm saying is true, but they just say there's nothing we can do. Or we'll see what happens. I'm glad you're there. But then I talked to the head of a major, Big Five bank in confidence on an airplane in first class for 3 hours. And he said, well, I know you're somebody that keeps confidences. You want to really talk? Laughing at me. And he said, the public will adapt to being slaves. You always thought of evolution, and I mean that in the sense of like cars evolve, folks, or ideas evolve. You always think of social evolution as something better. We think of it as something worse. And you will lose. Humanity has failed. And it was like I was talking to a space alien. His hair was perfect. His skin was perfect. Looked like he was 65 years old. His suit was perfect when he got up. He put his trench coat on. It was perfectly put on. And he just sat there with his briefcase under his arm and just laughed at me, looking me up and down when he walked off the plane. He was a general, and he was telling me, you have failed. He was a general of evil. And that bank supports open borders and gun control and everything else. And they want to bring down Russia. Well, let me tell you, you want to bring down Russia? Everything you do is evil. I'm against you. You want my guns? I can intellectually show why it's bad to turn my guns in, but I'm just automatically, no, I'm not turning my guns in. You want fake environmental groups to take private property away? I'm automatically against it. You want me to eat GMO? I'm automatically against it. You want open borders? I'm automatically against it. It's real simple. You're for it? I'm against it. Real simple. Default. Because you fundamentally are malfunctioning and are mentally ill to sit here and tell me that humanity has failed, humanity is over, and given up on everything. And you think you're going to get ahead by screwing everyone over and not giving them the tricks and not telling them the inside baseball and not telling them how the rabbit got pulled out of the hat? And then when they don't know and you've screwed them up from birth with weaponized television, you point your finger at them and say, look, they're a failure. That's all going to blow back on you and your family, and already has. And these guys don't even care about their kids. They'll have 5 kids and hope one of them turns out okay to run the empire. That's how the elite does it. You go out and you have 5, 6, 7 kids. You just throw them out there into boarding schools and prep schools, and whichever one's the meanest and the smartest, you make the head of the empire, and then you don't even talk to the other ones. Because, I mean, I'm able to run with the elite if I want to, and I've been around it, and I've seen it, folks, and it is the most cold-blooded, inhuman crap I have ever seen in my life. What do you think British royalty does? They don't even meet with most of the kids. They'll pick 1 or maybe 2 to run the show. And then they do that again like vampires, like head vampires, choosing the next head vampire. I will not be part of all this. And for all of you out there that want to be naive and say, oh, there's no New World Order, and want to buy into that mind control, hey, that's your problem, okay?